The EU denies the accusations. For more, Deutsche Welle correspondent Nicole Frölich joins me now from Berlin. Nicole, so the EU claims it isn't blocking any shipments, but Australia isn't receiving any doses either. What's going on?
Well, it's all a bit of a he said, she said situation at this point. The EU says it's not responsible for AstraZeneca's failure to uphold commitments to other countries. Prime Minister Morrison, on the other hand, says that Australia was asked by the EU to withdraw export permit applications, which some argue is in itself an obstruction of the export process. Now, it would be terribly interesting to hear from AstraZeneca, but for the time being, they're not commenting on the situation. What we do know is that the drug maker isn't meeting its contractual obligations here in the EU. By the end of June, AstraZeneca aims to only deliver 100 million doses of the 300 million it had initially pledged, and Brussels has repeatedly warned that they could block overseas shipments exiting the EU until those goals are met. So AstraZeneca has reportedly refrained from even submitting export requests to the EU, anticipating that they could potentially be denied. In any case, back in January, when those 250,000 doses going to Australia from Italy were blocked, the Australian government insisted that this would not delay its inoculation timetable. Now Morrison blames the missing shipments for the sluggish rollout in the country. It is a complex situation on both ends, and for now, the safest bet for Australia when it comes to planning and making promises to its citizens seems to be relying on domestically produced batches of the vaccine.
Nicole, let's talk about Germany's rollout, which has now entered its second phase. Is the speed of vaccinations expected to pick up?
Well, that is the plan and certainly the hope. As part of this second phase, general practitioners will be allowed to administer shots to eligible citizens. That sounds great, and it is a step many have been pushing for a long time, but there are caveats, and those are not to be ignored. For the time being, only 35,000 practices in Germany will be authorized to administer shots. That's about a third. And even though doctors say they are ready to hit the ground running, for starters, they'll only receive an average of 27 doses per week. That number will increase with time, but this still might not turn out to be the boost Germany's vaccination drive needs. The group of eligible citizens is still far too small to really curb infections, and here too, there are not enough vaccine doses. That is why experts are now demanding another additional step to be taken. They want to space first and booster shots further apart and use doses that were initially intended for one same person on two people. They believe that would provide basic protection, at least, for a segment of the population large enough to effectively push back against the virus and take an important load off the country's health system.
And Germany has been in lockdown for more than 150 days now. How much longer is it expected to go on?
That is an excellent question, and one many people here in Germany would like to know the answer to. There might not be a topic more hotly debated in the country at this point than the never-ending shutdown. Despite rising case numbers, some state leaders are currently trying their hand at an easing of restrictions. The western state of Saarland, for example, started a pilot project on Tuesday, reopening theaters, gyms, and outdoor restaurants for people with a negative test result. Others continue to push for a complete lockdown until infection rates are suppressed. The latest politician to propose that was Armin Laschet. He's the head of Angela Merkel's, the chancellor's CDU, and the premier of Germany's most populous state. He came up with what he calls a bridge lockdown. That is a new fancy term for a concept that has long been on the table. He made headlines last week after the chancellor publicly called him out on not following rules that all state leaders, including him, had agreed on. He then struggled to save face and has over the Easter holiday seemingly fallen in line, so much so that just a couple of minutes ago, the chancellor had one of her spokespeople come out and say that she actually backs that plan. Now, that back and forth is quite descriptive of the situation in the entire country. Measures are fought over, announced, never imposed, or apologetically retracted. And if that sounds confusing, you're not alone. 63% of Germans say they are disoriented by the current rules, and close to 50, half of the population, would like to see tighter measures rather than an easing of restrictions at this point.
Okay, Nicole Frölich reporting there from Berlin. Victorians will be holding their breath tomorrow when the first planes of